Hi, if you're a parent out there and want to know about the different boards out there, that is the CBSE board, state board, IB board, IGCSE board, what are they? What difference does it make? Then this video is meant for you. I'm going to give you some information that will help you probably choose which boards to use or which schools to use or how to find the right school for your child. Different boards in India, are the different boards available in India? You generally have the state board, CBSE board, the most common board, CISE board, then you have an iOS board. International boards, you have two, IGCSE board, that's the Cambridge board, International Baccalaureate board, and then you have also options of homeschooling, and then you also have options of being a private student and then be associating with any of these boards. I'll tell you a bit about it. But one thing you also need to know is that there are different schooling systems in India. So what are the different schooling systems in India? You would find along with state boards, along with, for example, you would CBSE schools, and then some schools will call themselves international schools. Generally, an international school should be the one that has got a curriculum that is an international curriculum. But then you would also see some CBSE schools calling them international schools. You'll also see some CISE schools calling them international schools. So you just have to be wary about international schools in India. An international school should have an international curriculum, but that's not true in India. Then you have Montessori schools, then you have Waldorf schools, then you have Jiddu Krishnamurti schools. Then you have alternative schools, and then there are something called as special schools, gifted children schools, and so on. Now, these schooling systems have their own philosophy, have their own vision, have their own way to develop a child, and you need to know them before you put child in these schools. Do boards matter or schools matter? To answer this question, let's look at the top schools in the country and see which boards are they associated with. Generally, when you talk about top school in the school, you can think about Doon School. Doon School is an ICSE school. You think about Woodstock School, Mussoorie. That's an IGCSE school. You look at Scindia School, Gwalior, a CBSE school. Mayo College, Ajmer, a CBSE school. St. George, Mussoorie, ICSE school. You can look at Bishop Cotton's or Sarla Birla Academy, which is an IGCSE school. So now that you looked at the top schools, you see that the schools are either IB schools or CBSE school, IGCSE school or CISE school. So boards don't matter, schools do. So how are you going to decide on the best school or the best board for your child? Now, if you had to ask your child, which school you want to go or which board you want to choose, what would the child do? Unfortunately, the child doesn't have the information to decide, right? So what are you going to do? You are going to see, for example, what's the best that you can do, okay? So you have to be very clear in your mind, why are you educating your child? What's the objective? Do you want a child to grow up and get a job? Or do you want a child to develop himself or herself in the best way possible? The thing that you have to know is, knowing your circumstances, knowing your situation, are you doing the best for your child? And the school that you put your child into, is it developing them academically, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, in the self? And finally, is it giving an overall development in all aspects? Okay? So that is going to be your criteria. Are you doing the best for your child based on your situation? Now, let's look at board by board, state board, CBSE board, IGCSE board, ICSE board, and so on. State board. Now, if you are a person who wants to live in the state, will probably not move out of the state, and probably you're in a situation where there are no good CBSE schools or IGCSE schools or CISE schools, then you're sticking to a state school. You have to find the best state school. Now, the state school, the main thing is it focuses on the languages in the state. So you have to have 3 languages. If I have to talk about the Karnataka board, it gives you a list of subjects or list of languages as the first language. It could be English, Kannada, so Urdu, and so on. Second languages, that is, could be English or Kannada, and a list of languages as third languages. State boards, most of the state boards, I think with the exception of Tamil Nadu, have to have 3 languages, and one of them will be the state language. The second thing you need to know is that you will have social sciences, you will have sciences and mathematics, and the thing is, it is very rigid. The state will say, these are my textbooks, and you have to use the textbooks. One thing you also need to know is that math and sciences, the state syllabus will match the syllabus on the CBSE or the CISE because they're going to do the NCERT syllabus. So even if you do the state boards, you can prepare for the national level exams. But if you take the state boards, you will find it easier to move within the state, and it's generally known as an easier board. So the second board out there is CBSE board, Central Board for Secondary Education. So if you are a parent who has to move from city to city, has to move from state to state, and your job requires you to move so often, then you have to, CBSE board is very flexible that way because it gives you schools in every city in the country. Okay. CBSE board is even internationally there. It's present in Middle East, makes it easier. Japan has it. There are cities internationally that CBSE board is available. Now that being said, CBSE board is certain rigid as well compared to the international boards, and I'll explain to you why. So when you go to 10th standard, you have to choose 5 subjects. Subject 1, language 1. It could be Hindi course A, Hindi course B, English language and literature. Subject 2, second language. It's from the group L. I'll show you group L in a few minutes. Subject 3 can be standard or basic mathematics. Very few schools offer both the standards. That's basic or standard. When it comes to grade 12, you have to take 5 subjects. Subject 1, Subject 2, Subject 3, Subject 4, and Subject 5. And then there is optional Subject 6, and Subject 7 is an internal assessment. The options from Subject 1 are, it is either an Hindi elective or Hindi core, or English elective or English core. Very few schools offer both Hindi elective and Hindi core. Okay? Find schools that do both. Could be from a group of subjects, that is from the list group L, or any one subject from group A. Subjects 3, 4 and 5 can be from group A, group S, or a combination of group A and S. Subject 6 could be any one subjects from the groups above. You can see in group A, that is academic subjects, there are a lot of academic subjects, nearly 30-35 academic subjects. If you look at group L, that is the language group, you will see some international languages, national languages, and so on. And then you will see group S, that is a list of subjects from retail to banking to marketing to yoga to applied physics to fashion studies and so on. Earlier I had said that boards don't matter and schools do. This is one of the reasons, because very few schools let you choose which subjects or which languages you want to take. If you're a student who likes both humanities, commerce and sciences, very few schools let you do that, right? You can, if it's a very good school, they'll let you take physics, they'll let you take economics, they'll like you take banking, they'll like you take yoga and so on. But schools are rigid. They want you to stick to science, commerce or arts. And the reason is, it becomes very easy to operate the school for them. So this is something that you need to know. When you select a school, see if the school is flexible. And school lets you choose the subjects so that you can develop, not makes it easy for the school to operate. The next board out there is CISE board. The schools are known as ICSE schools. A more flexible board than the CBSE school, but a little more harder board out there. The reason I say this is because when you are in grade 10, you have to choose almost 6 subjects. That is 3 subjects from group 1. You have 2 subjects from group 2, 2 or 3 subjects from group 2 and group 3. In group 1, you have English, a second language. You have to take history, civics, geography. It gives you a much broader view. And group 2, you have commercial studies, economics, mathematics, environmental science, science, a modern foreign language, a classical language. Or in group 3, any of the subjects from below, including yoga, fashion designing, hospitality management, and so on. Even in grade 12, the board requires you to take 5 subjects from the list out there. It doesn't let you choose or doesn't force you to choose science, humanities, or commerce subject. You can choose any one of them, any 5 subjects. Again, like I mentioned earlier, it's the schools that make it rigid as science, commerce, or arts. The board doesn't. So boards are more flexible, the schools aren't. Even in the ICSE board or CISE board, which is commonly known as. The next board out there is the Cambridge board, or generally known as the IGCSE board out there. Compared to the Indian boards, generally focus on understanding the subject. There is less of rote learning, more on deep understanding of the concepts out there and the application of the concepts out there. The beauty of the Cambridge board or the IGCSE board out there is the flexibility it gives to the students on what subjects they want to do. I'll explain this to you. When you are in the 10th grade and you have to choose the 7 subjects that you want for your ICE certification, that is International Certificate for Education, or you just want to get a certification from India, equivalent certificate called AIU, that is Association of Indian Universities. This certificate is equivalent to an Indian certificate from CBSE board, state board, or the IGCSE board. All you need is 5 subjects from the 70 subjects that it offers. 70 subjects. And only one of them is a language. And it could be an English language or a foreign language. So let me first run you quickly through something called as a Cambridge pathway. Cambridge Primary there generally starts from grade 5 to 11. You have to take 2 languages, science, math, ICT, and global perspectives. This runs all the way till grade 14, 2 languages. But from grade 9 to grade 10, you have to choose 5 subjects or 7 subjects, depending on the certification you want to. If you want the ICE certification, International Certificate for Education, you need 7 subjects from the 5 groups out there. Or if you want an AIU certificate, you need 5 subjects from any of the groups out there, at least 1 language. In Group 1, the list of languages, first language, second language, or the foreign language. Group 2 is Humanities and Social Sciences. You can choose any one of the subjects out there. Group 3 is Sciences, that's Agriculture, Biology, Chemistry, Physics, Physical Sciences. Group 4 is Mathematics. It gives you additional mathematics, Cambridge International Mathematics or Mathematics. Group 5, that's Creative, Technical or Vocational subjects. The list of subjects out there. Again, just like the other boards out there, even if it's an international school offering, for example, IGCSE, you need to see what are the choices that school is offering. The boards are flexible, sometimes the schools aren't. You also need to know the philosophy of the school, what the school is trying to achieve, and what areas the child is going to be developed. Only mentally, physically, spiritually, self, behavioral, and so on. And you want to choose a school that develops your child in all aspects. There are much more aspects in comparing the boards. There's the progression of the child through the board, the language options out there, which board is good for a competitive exams, which board helps you go internationally, or how you can go internationally. I'm going to talk about it in a subsequent video. The information that I've provided here is in the links before, so you can verify this information from the curriculums that the boards provide. So if you've liked this video or you found this video very useful, please like it and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.